Hey guys, Lytane here, and it's time to end the trilogy and look at Utawarerumono Mask of Truth and see if it's worth it. Utawarerumono Mask of Truth was released in September 2016 in Japan and May 2017 worldwide. That is the shortest localization in the series so far, yay! Once again, this was developed by Aquaplus and Leaf with mostly the same team that worked on Mask of Deception. Now, the last game ended on a cliffhanger and this game is a direct sequel, so there will be spoilers for Deception, but I'll try and keep them to a minimum. With the capital in turmoil and an injured heir to the throne, Andrew is hiding out in a remote country village where everything appears to be going wrong. This was all the evil plan of some shady people in the capital as they want to instill their own new government and run the country. As the rightful heir is in hiding, Oshta and the rest of the cast from the first game have to put together an army, reach out to other people in power across the land, and put up an assault against the palace itself to retake the throne. Of course, there are plenty of wrinkles along the way, new characters, more intrigue, and twists and turns aplenty, but it's very important to get through all of it in order to find out the truth. Mask of Truth is a very similar game to Mask of Deception. This is primarily a visual novel with strategy RPG battles mixed in. The majority of the time you'll be following the story with the odd choice here and there. The art style is still amazing with many great looking locations, fantastic character designs, and lovely special moments. The music is reused from Deception and new tracks are added in, so it's still a great time. And of course Suara has a new intro and it's another great song here. The battle system stays pretty much the same with a few new additions. Things like healing counters, new combos, and more characters are added. There isn't much of a difference here, and that's not a bad thing as the combat in Deception was pretty fun. The major change in my opinion though was the difficulty. This is a much harder game in my opinion. Each of the fights have a lot of enemies and a lot of damage being thrown around. Even with my experience, I had a few close calls when I was playing the game. I would say that there should be no reason why you're playing this game first instead of Deception, so I guess they made the game to reflect the skill of returning players. I quite like the bump up in difficulty for the most part. There are quite a few annoying levels which I didn't enjoy, but they can be overcome with perseverance. I also love when games have unlockables tied to a previous game, and this does just that. If you finish Deception, then you can bring over one of every skull you had collected in that game. That's really cool and it makes the game a little easier. It's a nice little addition that they really didn't need to include, but it's here, so I appreciate the hell out of it. The other major change between the two Mask games is the tone of the story. Where Deception had a lot of slice of life moments with some grand picture sort of looming in the background, Truth is all about that strict narrative. We have fewer slice of life moments in favor of following a darker, more serious story. The war is here and your party is desperate. A lack of supplies, manpower, and experience makes this whole thing feel like a struggle to survive. Now, there still is a lot of humor and jokes in the game, but I found them to be fewer and further apart. I think the change in direction was a smart move. We already know and care about the characters, so upping the stakes of the story works really well here. I was also surprised to see that we got even more backstory for all of our main characters. I thought I knew most things about them, but a lot of characters have a full part of the story dedicated to them. There were times where I had almost cried with how emotional the story becomes. I care deeply for these characters and damn, some parts just really hit me. But without spoilers, I do have a major problem with the story. About 3/4 of the way into the game, a twist happens, which then changes the last quarter of the game's story. This twist is not properly built up and the payoff isn't well done. It feels like it was squeezed into this game last minute. So just like Deception, I have a personal theory here, which many people online share. That is, the Mask games were supposed to be their own trilogy. Deception, Truth, and then another one. But maybe they weren't sure of the sales, or maybe that they'd even get a third Mask game, so they decided to cram it all into one. They could have easily made an entire game out of that last quarter of story. Yeah, It's that interesting and deep. It breaks the pacing, has logical gaps, and it feels underdeveloped, which is a big shame when the rest of the story is so strong. I was also disappointed in the lack of Prelude characters in this story. I thought that Truth would try and tie the loose threads of Prelude and Deception together, and it falls a little flat here. Many aspects of Prelude go unexplored or expanded upon, and the old main characters feel a little shoehorned into the story. They do try though, so points for effort. They do address some of the first game, and those parts were great. They were full of fan service and references, but I was just surprised with how little there was. Once again, if there were a Mask trilogy, then these parts probably would have been explored more, but who knows. The last major part is the new Dream Arena. When you finish the game, the post-game content becomes available. Whilst here, you can play through remixed versions of old stages and all new ones to boot. They range from silly to hard as nails fights. This is the true challenge of the game. These will break you. Whilst leveling up is usually important, here not so much, as the enemies scale with your level. BP though is very important, just to have a few more stats to edge out your attack on an enemy. These were so difficult that I couldn't beat most of them without the help of a little exploit found in the game. Two characters can set up an unlimited turn structure where as long as you can reach an enemy and they can't counter your chain, you can just keep having turns. This solved many fights, not all of them, but most. Didn't really help with the super boss of the Dream Arena though, so yeah. Completing all of these stages gives you some additional story and some nice moments with the characters that I really appreciate. You also get this dev room at the end where they talk about making the game, which was nice. In my opinion, Utawarerumono Mask of Truth is worth it, and an easy recommendation if you liked either Prelude or Deception. The story is fantastic with many emotional moments. We get a lot of character growth in the game, and we get to explore the world that much more. The battle system isn't very different, but the levels are much harder overall, and I did like the challenge. While there are problems with the last quarter of the story or so, it still manages to be very compelling till the very end. The best part of all of this is that if they ever wanted to make another game in the series, they could easily do so. I know they have a mobile game out in Japanese at the moment, but I would love to see another proper game. So guys, tell me what you thought about Mask of Truth. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you guys think they should have made a trilogy of Mask games? Because I do. They really could have fleshed out that last major idea into a whole new game. Also, let me know who was your favorite character and why. I think Kuon and Haku are the best. Oh my god, I love those two. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that junk down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!